highlighting the Aggieville construction, some local businesses. It's kind of a more of an informative thing.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got their own story. Ours is just kind of informative, what it could be like, what Aggieville could look like in the future, and what's going on now. So yeah, we'll get ready to get recorded and start everything. We don't need you for too long. We definitely appreciate the time though.
Sure. I'll give you what I got.
You ready? You get recording?
Yep. It's recording.
All right, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay.
If you want to start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and your position and what you do for the city in Aggieville.
Okay. I'm Dennis Cook. I'm the director for the Aggieville Business Association. I've been the director for 4 years. And so we are, the Aggieville district is, we have a territorial district, so it's bordered by 11th Street in Bluemont and 14th Street in Fremont. But our business side of that, it's really right around 100 businesses that are in Aggieville, and they contribute to the association. And we, out of this office, what we try to do is just kind of facilitate everything that's going on in the district, whether we need some cleanup work or whether we're just working with the city, construction companies. What is going on? There's always, somebody filing a permit, wanting to do a parade, do something different. So we have got something going on all the time.
Yeah. So did you go to K-State? I'm just wondering as to where your allegiance is from K-State, if you've been a fan forever.
I have been in Manhattan since the early 70s. I went to K-State.
Okay, cool.
And so I've been a patron of Aggieville since 1971.
Nice.
And fortunately, the drinking age was 18 at that time. I was 17, but you can sneak in a bar. Yeah. This is not going to go worldwide here.
Right.
But I was in school here at 75, then I was gone for 4 years, back 79 to 81, back in school again, and to try something different. And while I was back, I got to meet and work with Dean Campbell, who had Campbell Distributors. He offered me, told me not to go take the job I was going to go take. I needed to go work for him. I didn't follow through with that, but I was back in about 8 months, and I came back, and so I worked for Campbell Distributors, the Budweiser guys, from 82 to 2000. Dean Campbell retired, sold out, and I worked for the next Budweiser distributor until 2018. So I've been, and as a Budweiser distributor, I spent a lot of time in Aggieville. As a student, I spent a lot of time in Aggieville. So, so now I work in Aggieville. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So before we get into the current construction, can you kind of give us a backstory of how long this process takes to strike a deal up with the company, to lay the plans out, and all that?
Okay, well, the backstory, try to wrap it up quick. It's been discussed for quite a while. There's been some renovation work that was done, downtown. They did a reconstruction, a redevelopment, and so about 2016 they started a thing called the Aggieville Vision, and you can go on the city website and you can pull up the Aggieville Vision, and it took them a couple of years to kind of get that launched, and they did a lot of great work in talking about what they wanted to do with Aggieville, and what it really comes down to is as a city, you've got, if you're the city, if you run the city, you've got certain expenses that you're going to incur, whether that's street maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. So you tax based on that, and as you know, everything's higher next year than it was this year, and so the idea is you either raise taxes or you get more people, and you try to grow the city, and there for a long time the city was kind of they were fine. The university was growing every year. Fort Riley was getting bigger every year, and then all of a sudden, about 8-10 years ago, the university went flat and down, and so did the military. So it became important to either well, they didn't want to do it either. It was important to try to get people to move into Manhattan. And how do you compete? And so now the push is we're trying to promote. The city is trying to promote. The chamber is trying to promote Manhattan as the Silicon Valley of ag tech. Because tech is tech, and if you're coming out of college and you're really tech savvy, you can go to work for a tech company, and it can be anything.
Right.
But what they're finding out is the bulk of those people that any of those companies want to hire, they're between 21 and 35 years old, and they have places that they want to live and don't want to live. They don't want to live in a big metropolitan area that that feels like they're just lost. So one of the things that they've heard is people 21 to 35 would like to live in a college town. So hence and we already had NBAF coming. So the idea is now to try to build around that and try to get other ag businesses to come into town. And one of the highest priorities, by talking to those businesses, they go, yeah, I can relocate there, and maybe I can hire some of these people if that's really where they want to be. And when they asked the 21 to 35-year-olds, what's important to you, and they said, we want a really viable entertainment district.
Yeah.
Well, you either build a new one or you come down here and redevelop this one. And so they did the Aggieville Vision in 2016, and we got started in 2018 when the Courtyard by Marriott decided to take over some underutilized space and build a big project there. And so since we were going to redevelop everything in Aggieville, without that private development coming in, we had a plan. Here's the streets you work on in this order. But the Courtyard by Marriott decided to go where they went, and so you have to refocus on them. And the first thing you realize is there wasn't a water line that would feed the Courtyard by Marriott.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and without some real work. And so that's why the first construction that the city did was on 12th Street between Morrow and Bluemont, because that was fixing that water line to feed the Courtyard by Marriott. So the first round of development was 12th Street from Morrow to Bluemont, and then up the face of Bluemont. They changed the sidewalks and did all that stuff. But then the other part of it was we needed a parking garage, and so then it was onto the parking garage and Laramie Street right in front of it, and then the next piece is North Manhattan Avenue now, which is 10 days away from opening up.
Yeah. And that North Manhattan Avenue looks really good too, with that Aggieville sign going over the top.
Yeah.
I really like what you guys are doing with that.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's, this is what it's going to look like in the future.
Right.
Where all the plants are budding out, and everybody on the bicycle is happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is a digital picture we're getting ready to use for some stuff.
Right.
And somebody goes, "Why do you need that? You can just go take a picture." So, well, the flowers are blooming. This seems to be the picture we need.
Not quite there yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
It's just but we know that these businesses on the left are not these monolithic structures. That just as the architects were working on this, they don't worry about that part over there. This is the construction, so you worry about that. So.
Right.
But that is what it looks like.
Getting closer to it every day.
Yeah, and like so, we're should be a week from Friday. They plan on having that piece opened up.
So we've talked to a lot of those local businesses over there, and a lot of them have been pretty open to it. They said, yes, right now it's unfortunate that our street's closed, but we know it's going to be better in the future. How did kind of those conversations go when you went and said, we're closing the street, nobody can get down here? How did those conversations go?
Well, of course that's a city plan, and they did a lot of that. But most everybody had a voice. They had a lot of their input in on it, and so they've been given a lot of heads up by the construction people. All we've tried to do from out of this office is where can we help? How can we get you through this try to be the liaison person. Instead of them trying to stand around and walk up and tap somebody on the shoulder out there and say, what are you doing here? They call the office, and we've got construction people who are the project supervisors. That we call, they answer the phone and just say, I'm hearing a question and we need an answer, and they're really good about that. Yeah, it's been a while, and it's tough,
Right.
and there for a while it was really, really tough. But now the sidewalks have been open for maybe 3 weeks, and big wide sidewalks, and so they're getting more and more of that foot traffic in. But I'm sure, next Friday when everything opens up and people can actually pull in and see this and look at it and park and walk in, it's going to feel like this is the best day ever. So.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of parking on North Manhattan Avenue, but you can still drive down it, correct? Whenever it's finished.
When it's finished. Well, it used to have, from what you're seeing there on the left-hand side, there was never any parking on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, we'll call it the east side. On the east side, all the way to Morrow, there were 19 parking spaces. And if you ever parked there, they were awful. The angle was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It was, and then years ago, they had in front of the parking spaces, they had the bike lane,
I remember
then the
that too,
sidewalk,
actually, yeah.
which was that was just dumb.
Design flaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was on the Aggieville board at that time when they did that, and we were talking to them and said, how in the world does that make sense? But they thought it did, but it didn't. But anyhow, there were 19 parking stalls. With this, even with the plantings and all that stuff, there's going to be 14 parking stalls. So we lose 5.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So that's all right.
So of the people that we've talked to in the McCool's Rockabilly Varsity Strip, they've all said actually that you guys have been like super transparent about letting them know the changes and when this is going to start. Has that been something that you guys have been like adamant about from the start? Like, we know we have to keep these businesses in the loop because if we don't, we could lose them.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So what I've asked for and gotten from any construction company that's working down here, I get a weekly update. Right. They'll send it to me. That's on top of us having conversations. But they will send out something so that when I read it, I can either rewrite it,
Right.
where it makes sense, because they'll refer to, we're over in phase 3 now. Well, okay, well that doesn't help. That's fine for me because I can see phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 because I have that picture. But if you don't know that, so we have to say, okay, well phase 3 is over here, and so sometimes we would rewrite that. But for the most part, we would send that along, but that's because we're having phone conversations with them.
Right.
We've asked for and gotten once a week updates, and then we do a monthly lunch meeting down here where everybody's invited, and somebody from, and this particular project is McCown Gordon, and McCown Gordon would always have somebody who showed up every week, every month, and he did his 5 or 6 or 7 minute spiel on here's where we are. You've all got my name, you've got my number. You can talk to Dennis, but you can call me. We're going to do whatever we can to help you out. So, that's a big piece of what it takes to make this work.
Right.
Video's still good.
Video's still good.
Okay, just to wrap up the North Manhattan Avenue before we move on, when was the start date for that? Was that last spring or was that?
Fall.
4/18/22.
There you go.
Okay, so it's been about exactly a year then.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, you can take a picture
Okay,
Thank you.
of that because it's going to show you, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so you were showing having a completion date of 4/25. It looks like it's going to be 4/28.
Close
Pretty
enough.
close.
Yeah, very close.
Anna, do you have a question?
I was gonna ask if there's been like a hardest part for your office. Are you just something that something difficult about
Maybe
it? Or?
that didn't go according to plan or anything along those lines?
I don't have any background in construction. What I understand is there's a plan, and then there's reality.
Yeah.
Everything is like that. No, it's been fine. Take a look at that. They said they were going to be done on 425, and they told us that, a little bit over a year ago when I got this poster. So that's not a big surprise.
That's some good accuracy from
Yeah.
a year out.
Yeah, now somebody might say that they slowed down to make sure they got it, but I know that it's a process, and and one of the things that they've done is somebody's asked, why does it take so long? And one of the things they've said is if we decided that we want to go fast and we didn't worry about whether you keep your doors open, we could just come in here and just go to work, and we could have done this in probably half that time. But you might as well just go on vacation because you're not in business anymore. Your customers are not going to be able to get to you. So this is what it takes, because they're doing a city project. So with the city hiring them to do this, their job is to make it as painless as possible. So no real surprises. We've gotten pretty much everybody on track. The biggest surprise right now has been that we thought as this was wrapping up, this Midtown project, which is another project back here, behind Kites and Yard Bar. That project was supposed to, it did start in January, and it was going to be a just under a 2-year build. And here about 3-4 weeks ago, when the bank in California collapsed, one of his investors pulled out.
Right.
And so everything went on pause. So now we're kind of in limbo over there on that side. But that's a private developer.
Right.
And so the city's not involved in that, and we stay in touch all the time. Talk with the developer. We know what and talk with the construction company that has the bid that's doing the work, so we know what they're doing. All of a sudden you'll see 2 days ago you see a flurry of activity over there. Does that mean something? No. Well, and what it was is months and months and months ago, even before they got started, is when they had to order the rebar and this and that. You did that way in advance. Mm-hmm. Well, even though the project's on hold, it's now done and it's here.
Yeah.
So that's why we had to show up and offload it and
Right.
get it stored properly and all that stuff. So with that project, we're just kind of hoping that 10 days from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, that they announce that we're back.
Right.
We've got the funding where we're going to go, because that project is an amazing project.
Yeah.
And we need it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great. But we'll see what reality is on that one.
Okay, to kind of go full circle, I know there's always like construction and the plans and stuff. What's the future look like, and when can, participants in Aggieville expect there to be no construction anymore? Like, is there years down the road, several months from now, or how does it look?
I can tell you this: it's we had a plan. Part of what goes on is where the city is using tax incremental financing for this, and so by doing that, as the value of Aggieville property goes up, everybody who gets to pull off of our property taxes, whether it's the school district or the city or whoever that is that pulls off of our property tax, in 2018 they got frozen for the next 20 years. So if they got, if I'll just give you a weird number, if they were getting $100,000 out of Aggieville, and every year, as property values went up, they still got that percentage, and so they kept getting more money.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, they froze them at $100,000, okay. And you're only going to get $100,000 until 2038. Okay. So as tax incremental financing, as tax values go up in Aggieville, the city captures that to help pay for this work. instead of creating a tax, they're just withholding it from somebody else. So that if private development comes in and says, I'm going to take a private, a city parking lot that was generating zero tax, property tax, because the city doesn't pay themselves property tax. It was generating nothing, and I want to build a $53 million project on it that's going to generate $1 million to $1.5 million in property tax a year. That is 100% coming into our district to do things. The city is going to go follow private dollars as much as they can. So when this project, your question is about the timeline. Our timeline is let's go back to January, which is not that far ago. In January, we knew that his project would be done in end of 2024, which meant in the spring of 2024, they were going to convert 12th Street from Morrow to Laramie into pedestrian walkways.
Right.
And so to be opened at the same time as that.
Yeah.
So that would take care of 12th Street that way, 12th Street this way. While the Midtown project was going on, they were going to take care of Laramie Street from 12th Street up to North Manhattan Avenue. And so by the looks of it, we were probably going to be on Morrow Street finally in late 2024 or early 2025 to do. Now we're just everything's on pause, because if he has to revamp his plan for Midtown, that may revamp 12th Street.
Yeah.
So everything is just kind of like, we're just so really, to answer the question, we thought that we would be done with construction about 2028, 2029. Now I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's all of Morrow to do. There's still 2 blocks of Laramie to do. And we see, and there's still more coming. There's still going to be more private development down here.
Right.
There's the whole handy corner back here behind us is pretty much about vacant now, because they're going to try to develop that. And then they're going to hopefully at some point we're going to get another large amount of parking on the east end of Aggieville too.
Right.
So.
Gotcha.
So just to clarify something we were talking about earlier, just for when we're writing the story and stuff, I want to make sure I have a good picture of what you were saying. So the whole efforts of construction are to build a larger community and like prevent the city from having to tax like the town more.
Well, I mean, ultimately, what we want to do is you want to grow Manhattan, and I guess, and what was going on down here in Aggieville is the infrastructure underneath the street, the water lines, sewer lines, etc., are somewhere between 50 and 80 years old. And so, as somebody in the city would tell me, they go, every day that we don't have a water leak in Aggieville is a good day. And so, at some point they were going to have to come in here if we weren't even redeveloping Aggieville, they would have to come in here and which they could do a lot quicker. It would be come in here and just tear up the street, get into the infrastructure, all new water lines, all new sewer lines, et cetera, replace all that infrastructure, and then they could pour it back the same way. The idea is by doing it, what we want to do is maybe limit a little bit of parking, widen sidewalks, make it a friendlier environment, so that it also is enticing for a business who can say, I can. I've got a tech business, and probably an ag tech business, that can relocate to Manhattan, and it'll be easier for me to get 50, 60, 70 employees, because this is a great college town. Look what's going on. We're close to NBAF. the university, sports, there's all this cool stuff, and there's enough amenities around a college town that people like, and we have this great entertainment district. So we're all we're part of that puzzle.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
Well, that's all I got. You guys got
That's
anything
all
else?
I got too.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time. Super helpful, and this works out perfect because our project presentation date